Well, Ian, you were there on the batter's box as we were warming up here, and should I feel as confident as I feel? Because I kind of know the look, dude. You've been in the league just like I have a shit ton of years. I've been fighting this fight for years now. And Tua came through. I told everybody it wasn't Tua. I told everybody to hang in there with Greer. And I always mention Marvin Allen and Reggie McKenzie because I think those guys are GMs just sitting there. They just don't get the opportunity. And Reggie was mistreated, I think, in Oakland and all of that. How confident should Dolphin fans be with the combination of the quarterback and the general manager right now?
Well, I think more importantly is how confident should they be in the quarterback, the weapons, the defensive pieces, including Bradley Chubb. Like that's the most important thing, you could talk about the value in draft picks and, not having draft picks for the foreseeable future and all that. That's all fine. They have a team now that can compete for division titles and championships. Whether they do or not, that's a different question. We'll see what happens, but they have been put in position to compete in what has been, I think, a really tough division and what is a tough division. All that is pretty good to me.
What'd you think of the trade yesterday? Your thoughts?
I thought it was good. It was a lot. It was a real lot. Not a lot of teams valued Bradley Chubb like that, but some did. Clearly one did, Miami Dolphins. I think to get a pass rusher, a young pass rusher was always going to cost, a first-round pick. And they paid a little more, plus they give up, a running back that kind of goes into the stable there in Denver. I thought it was, it's a lot, just like the Christian McCaffrey deal was a lot, just like the Jalen Ramsey deal was a lot, just like the Laramie Tunsil deal was a lot. You want to get a premium player, especially at a time when everyone has sort of heightened expectations, you got to pay. So did the Dolphins overpay? I don't know. If Chubb leads them to the playoffs, then does it really matter? So I thought it was all fine. They picked up a premium player and are in position to do everything they want to do.
Yeah, and that first rounder may end up dropping if the Niners keep winning. It ends up becoming it's already at the 20th pick right now.
Yeah, figures. I was just talking to a GM before I got on with you. He was like, figure the Niners are going to be like 24 to 32. I think that's probably right. So that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think, listen, they needed another guy to kind of add to this pass rush. And Ogba's not a long-term contract. It's only a 2-year deal. So right. This kind of allows you to then move on from Ogba in another year. And then obviously Phillips and Chubb can be your bookend guys. The only thing, did the Broncos not value Chubb nearly as much? Because the part that I find weird is pass rushers are something I would not trade if I'm a franchise team. Judy, if I could move him, I get it that lots of receivers come out every year. Pass rushers, man, are hard to find.
Yeah.
What was it about either the contract negotiations or how they felt about Chubb? Why was this move made on the Denver side?
Yeah, I mean, they must not have valued him like that. I mean, George Payton said basically the deal was so great. The deal was so great that they couldn't turn it down. They would have taken it even if 5-3. And I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But if you're 5-3, you're not going to trade your best pass rusher after going all in for Russell Wilson. So I think that probably didn't make sense. Maybe they didn't think he was worth the $20 million contract that he's probably going to get. Okay. People have disagreements over value all the time. A lot of teams didn't think a running back was as valuable as the 49ers and Rams did. Christian McCaffrey looked pretty good on the field Sunday. What value do you put on a guy who suddenly puts you in playoff contention? How much is that worth? So value is an interesting thing. So do the Broncos value him like the Dolphins did? Probably not. But in the end, that really doesn't matter because that's what you needed to do to get him.
Let's go over the Niners. Your thoughts on the Wilson move?
I thought it was fine. He's a reserve running back who's been productive in a system. I think problem with San Francisco is they got so many of those guys and all of them have been similarly productive. So what actually is he? But, you get him for a 5. I thought it was fine. Reserve running back at cheap contract, not a high price, so it's fine.
I think he knows the system, and somehow or another, Chase did not. I don't know what it was because I know he played more of an inside run scheme zone, and this was more outside. And I don't know what happened, because he's a good player. He was always a good player at Arizona, productive player, and here he just could not find his groove. So that was also a nice move for Miami to be able to move him over to Denver too. I thought that was a good move because
and just kind of a throw in, but probably made Denver feel. What's the actual value on that? Like 6th or 7th rounder, probably. But I would say probably made Denver feel a little better to get a player who's going to still be on the roster. So I thought that was fine.
Who else did you? What other moves did you like over the last couple of days that you thought somebody really made a productive move to improve their team?
Roquan Smith deal for the Baltimore Ravens. You get the leading tackler in the NFL, a big time, impact defender, game changing plays, but also like shows up on an every down basis. I love that move. I thought that was great. And I thought for, the Ravens, we could talk about Lamar Jackson all we want, but it's the defense that has been getting run over late in games. And the general manager, Eric DaCosta, decided, you know what, I'm going to go spend big to improve the defense. I thought he did that. I thought that was a really good move. I like the Calvin Ridley trade a lot. He's suspended. He hasn't been on anyone's radar. Very quietly, they've been trying to move him. He wasn't coming back there, but just to get some sort of value. And I think he wanted a home before free agency. He wanted to know next year when he gets reinstated, where is he? I think I like that move for the future for the Jaguars. I thought the price was pretty good and creative. I think those are two that probably stood out to me.
Why haven't the Ravens made a move for franchise receivers that have become available all over the place? Because I don't think the Ravens are ever going to lure a franchise receiver straight up in free agency, because that's a running offense. So they're not going to be attracted to that offense. So you're either going to have to trade for them or draft them. Why haven't they done that for Lamar? Because he's not an elite passer. He's not going to just elevate average receivers and make them good. That's not who he is. So why not go find him a stud receiver to try to make his life a little easier?
I don't know that the value would be there that would make that make sense for them. Like if you go get a stud receiver, you're still going to throw a lot to the tight ends. You're still going to throw a lot to the running backs. Lamar's still going to run a bunch. Like, would that make sense as far as just using resources? I would say I'd rather spend resources on the offensive line, for instance.
Wow. Okay.
It just doesn't make, for the Dolphins, you'd say like, all right, what would make Tua better? Elite receivers who can run after the catch and who can track the deep ball. And Tua has gone from pretty good to really, really good, thanks in part to two dynamic weapons.
He's an elite passer. He
wasn't an elite passer until this year.
That's not Lamar. I mean, that again, I what happened the first 2 years, I don't blame any of that on him. I just think he had crap around him. When he was at Alabama, he had everything that was elite around him, and he could play his game. Here now with Mike, he's got his stuff. See, to me, Lamar is not that guy. He's not that passer. So you got to find a way to make it easy for him. But the way you're phrasing it, everything makes all the sense in the world, what you're saying. It's just, it's almost insanity, because the same thing happens to you. You're hard to prepare in the regular season, but once you get to the playoffs, the elite defense step up. All they got to do is shut down the run, because the guy throwing the ball is not going to beat you with his arm out of the pocket. So why not make his life easy where he can jack it down the field a couple times, and an A.J. Brown is coming up and the guy's just corralling it and bringing it in. That's what I would do for the kid, because I think he needs it. I think that offense needs it. It's a regular season offense. It's not really a postseason offense.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, to me, that's why I think improving the defense made a lot of sense, because we can argue back and forth. The offense is good. The offense is productive. It's the defense that's lost leads. But we'll see. I mean, it's all going to be out there. If he's struggling in tight windows in the postseason, I'm going to come back here in January and be like, you know what? You're right about that. No, I highly doubt I'll say that, but anything is possible.
Well, some tells me you're going to come back and say, you're right about that, because that's
I don't
kind of
know
been the
about
thing
that.
that's been his crutch overall. By the way, the Roquan thing, Chicago was it a money thing between them and Chicago with
Uh,
Roquan?
I was more of they thought it was unlikely that he was going to resign their thing. And remember, they would have to tag him. Then when would he show up? And then would he do a long-term deal? Okay, maybe not. Well, then you lose him, and then you get a compensatory pick, but you get a pick in 2 years, not now. So, getting some value now, getting really good value now made a lot of sense. I thought that was a pretty good trade for them.
Was Miami ever in the mix for Roquan?
I did not hear Miami in the mix for Roquan, no. I'm not saying
Okay.
it didn't happen. I just didn't hear it.
Who else was in the mix for Bradley?
I think that the pass rush needy teams were like the Titans, the Rams. But I didn't, I would say there wasn't a ton of teams after him at that price. So then you say, were the Dolphins negotiating against themselves? I don't think they were. I think they were negotiating against the Broncos being like, yeah, we're just not going to trade him. Because at some point, the Broncos were going to be like, yeah, the price is not there. We'll just keep him and trade him in the offseason.
How much has a healthy Miami Dolphins team cut the gap between them and the Buffalo Bills? I know they beat them already once this year, but that doesn't mean anything for now. But as the overall picture, we all know that the Bills are considered the class of the AFC.
Yeah.
So how far is Miami from Buffalo now?
A little closer, right? I mean, Buffalo added a running back and a depth piece. And, the Dolphins added a premium pass rusher. Say the running back is sort of like a wash, but they added a premium pass rusher. So, what does that mean? Does that mean 1 sack and 3 more pressures a game, right? Does that mean 2 sacks? Does that mean Josh Allen in the next time they play is going to be a little more uncomfortable than he was? And how does that manifest itself on the field? Like these are all issues, and the reason you trade for a great player is you expect them to make a big impact in a big game. We will see, but that is what the Miami Dolphins are hoping.
Your assessment of Tua after last week and throughout, now that he looks like he's back in a groove after being 24 days off. He wasn't sharp 2 weeks ago. This past week, he was sharp. Your assessment of Tua so far?
I think he's back and looks totally normal. You sort of never know what if there's going to be residual effects of something as traumatic as that. Didn't see any. I thought he looked good. And, I think the Dolphins, again, like we'll see what this latest piece means, but I think the Dolphins are, have everything in front of them and are in a position to be as absolutely good as they want to be. Really good position. Tua looks great. The receivers are great. Really great. This is everything I think for Dolphins fans, everything they wanted.
Ian, one more thing before I let you go. Do you know anything about the Byron Jones situation? Because he waited till March to have the surgery. Then he's had some setbacks. I heard from somebody that it's not like he's pulling like a Will Fuller from last year. It's more like he's kind of particular about when he comes back. Like he needs his body to be right, and it hasn't been right for one reason or another. So I don't know what kind of setbacks he's having behind the scenes or something along those lines. But this defense would be completely different if you have Byron Jones and X. That would really allow him more freedom up front to do some things. What do you know about the Byron Jones mystery? Because that's what this has become, an absolute mystery.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I don't love, and I know it's not you, but I don't love when people say, oh, well, they need their bodies to feel right. I mean, these are elite athletes whose bodies are like machines. And people say the same thing about David Bakhtiari. It's like, if you're not ready, you're not ready. And we all talk about, another successful surgery. Like sometimes they aren't all successful. Sometimes you have complications. Sometimes you need another one. I mean, it happens all across the NFL.
I know.
It just happened with J.K. Dobbins where he had ACL surgery. He was fine. He played. Then he needed surgery to remove scar tissue and is out for another 4 to 6 weeks. So I think Byron Jones wants to come back. It's been complicated. He's just not ready yet. Which, you hope at some point he's ready this year.
Yeah. Let's hope so. All right, follow him on Twitter at Rap Sheet and catch his work there at the NFL Network. Well, what's the plans this week?
I'm going to take a deep breath after the trade deadline. That's it.
You do that, my brother. Appreciate you as always. We will catch up next week, my friend. Thank you.
All right, look forward to it. Take care.
You got it. There we go. That's our look around the NFL, brought to you by redrecover.com. And when we talk about red light therapy, folks, I'm telling you, if you're dealing with chronic pain, an injury, an old operation, and it affects your elbow, your shoulder, your back, your neck, your knees, your ankles, we've got wraps to take care of all of that. Go to redrecover.com. Red light therapy is absolutely amazing. It's all natural. There are no side effects. It's great for the adults. It's great for the kids. So if they're playing little league stuff and they got some twists and some sprains, redrecover.com will help them out. And if you're a workout warrior and you're out there playing your pickleball or your tennis or weights or running or jogging, whatever it is you do, red light therapy and these pads are great to use before and after your workouts. They will optimize your workouts. You'll feel better. You'll recover faster. That's what it's all about. It's great for your dogs that deal sometimes with hip issues. We've got the wraps for the smaller dogs and for the bigger dogs. Go to redrecover.com. Use our code Big O, and you will get 10% off. That is the redrecover.com look around the NFL.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.